If you guys are wondering why I'm in the dark, it's because I'm too broke to pay my electric bill. Just playing, just playing. I have enough money to pay my bill. Actually, if you're on this channel, it's because I probably recommended it. So short, my name's Andre. I'm a huge fan of pretty much everything in the 80s. If anybody's seen Ready Player One, that movie was basically like just a big old fangasm of everything that happened in the 1980s. I mean, I'm talking about like Terminator and RoboCop and all that type of stuff. And so if you're watching this channel, is because I want to give out like this huge bombardment on anything wonderful and magical that happened in the 1980s. Um, a lot of the stuff, a lot of my happiest childhood memories is stuff that happened in the 1980s. Generally speaking, going to the arcades, just the arcade experience, the type of games that were presented back then. I want to take the best elements of that era and also the worst elements of that era and present it to you, the viewer. A lot of you guys probably don't know what things are like in the 1980s, or you do know, and this is like an homage, or maybe I could like jumpstart some memory of something that happened with you guys. That way, you have something to talk about, something to joke about. This particular channel, I just kind of got started. I know that I've put out some promotion a little bit. If anybody listened to the All Star podcast, I'm Andre. Uh, if you've been listening to it for a long time, there's probably been a long string of weeks where I was just like winning the trade paperback books. If I snatch those books out from underneath you guys, I am sorry. Not sorry, sorry, that type of sorry. But thank you for listening. Please tune in. Those guys are amazing. Jonathan, Johnny, Roger, and Matt. Shout out to you guys. Thanks for having me on. Um, but when it comes to this particular channel, I know I promoted it. The main plan was for at the beginning to put out there that I have something like this going, and then go back on the podcast at the very end when I actually have a bunch of content on here, and then say, hey guys, go ahead, subscribe, take a look at it, give me a thumbs up, all that type of stuff. Um, and right now, I'm still like in the very opening stages how this channel is supposed to be going. There's a lot of stuff that you have to purchase. I got the majority of it. Um, Workstation, the laptop, with the capability to be able to run the webcam and be able to record the game footage. If you guys don't know, Elgato. The Elgato is a game capturing device that allows you to be able to either live stream or record game footage, edit, and then upload the content, which is pretty expensive. Condenser microphone so that I could make this thing sound and look a bit more professional. The proper lighting to be able to kind of show what I look like, to be completely honest, because the lighting in this room is pretty terrible. There's always been some sort of hiccup that's kind of been getting in the way of me being able to do stuff, and right now the biggest hiccup is the fact that the laptop that I have does not have the necessary RAM to be able to multifunction the way that I need it to multifunction. And I tried rectifying that today by picking this up, but I need a DDR4, and I picked up a DDR3. If you could see, take a look right there, and long story short, shit don't fit. It don't fit in there. Like, it's it's too big, or whatever you want to call it, whatever, like the most flattering thing I say to this is it's too sorry, it's too big to fit in there. So it has to go back to the store, and I have to swap it out, and then once I kind of get more RAM, then being able to run a microphone, the game capture, the recording, the webcam, the software, all that stuff simultaneously running through my laptop to be able to get the content together so that I could be able to upload it onto the actual channel itself. So if any of you guys were actually on here looking for a lot of stuff to take a look at, all I really have on here, unfortunately, is just a bunch of videos from when I did game capturing or whatever off of my PS4. If anybody has a PS4, then it's like the very bare bones, very rudimentary of game capture. It records 15 minutes of footage off of what you're directly playing, and then once those 15 minutes are up, then it begins erasing the beginning of when that recording first started, and it just kind of keeps a 15-minute window throughout the game. And then when you kind of have a situation or see something that you actually like, then that's when you hit the share button on the controller, which basically locks those 15 minutes in, or if it was less than 15 minutes, then whatever it was that led up to it. And then after that, takes you to a screen where you're allowed to edit, and all the editing, the very lowest of when it comes to editing, is you get to trim the beginning and the end of your footage. And so if something happened, in the last 2 or 3 minutes of your 15 minutes, I'm pretty sure people don't want to sit around and watch 12 minutes of what you were doing that wasn't exciting just to get the last 3 minutes of it. So you could just kind of like knock out the first 12, and then maybe the very end knock that down. So you only have like those 2-3 minutes that you want to have. But let's say something cool happens at the beginning of the 15 minutes, and then something happens in the middle, and something happens at the end. Well, you're pretty much fucked. You can only do one of the beginning, one of the middle, and one at the end, and not have it all like condensed together. On top of that, it doesn't capture any of the audio from the player. Like in most of the videos that I have on here, I'm wearing a headset with a microphone. I'm probably talking to somebody. You can't hear any of that shit. It's just not on there. The PS4 does not record any of the audio that you're actually saying. So if you watch any of those videos, you're seeing me play the stuff, but you're not hearing anything that I actually am saying. So you'll see weird videos where, like in Destiny, I'm dancing with one of my female friends and everything. And it looks funny, it looks goofy, we're actually saying a lot of funny things during it, but then when you look at the video, it's just my character, my warlock, and then her titan, and it's just bumping and grinding, and there's like nothing there. It looks really fucking awkward. Trust me, it's like really awkward. Like, check it out if you want like some just awkwardness when it comes to this type of stuff. But I do plan on having a lot of stuff uploaded in the near future. I'm going to pretty much get the right kind of RAM, get that going, make everything smoother, because right now if I try to do everything, it's really choppy. So the footage is not very good, I should say. But once I kind of get everything going, I'm definitely going to be promoting it and pushing it out even further. So if you guys have listened to the podcast, I think the podcast is live, if you're not Patreon, on the 18th. And people are wanting to know what I look like, or what's going on when it comes to this channel. I apologize. Like, I wish I could have more stuff on here, but please, please, please come back soon. That way you could be treated to the wonderness of what was going on in the 80s. Like I said, it's primarily games, but it's going to be pretty much anything that I think is miraculous from that particular era. So movies, any type of 80s movies that was just freaking awesome. It could be something along the lines of the viewpoint on what science fiction was going to be like. The music, the music is fucking amazing from that particular era. You haven't lived until you've seen a video where Mick Jagger and David Bowie are so fucking close to each other while they're singing that you think they're about to make out, like, at that moment. It's like shit, That's pretty much it, Same thing with comics, same thing with games. It's not going to be entirely just 1980 stuff. I want to also talk about things a little bit more modern. Like I said, I have a PS4, so there's a lot of games that I want to actually do reviews of, or actually do maybe a let's play at some point, show some sort of highlights when it comes to it. Things that are a bit harder to find. That's what I like. If you look at my game collection, it's just a lot of stuff that is not very typical. It's not like you're going to look at my shelf and you can see Call of Duty Black Ops, Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3. It's not in there. It's stuff that most people haven't even heard of, because I like things that are more like not as mainstream. Like, you're not going to see the type of stuff that I have promoted all over TV and huge commercials and stuff like that. The reason why is mainly because stuff that's harder to find tends to be rarer, and the rarer something is, then the more likely the value goes up. Or it could go the other way around and nobody wants it and it's just not worth anything. But I want to try to maybe open people up to seeing something that's not, Grand Theft Auto or Halo or Destiny, other game studios deserve a chance to sort of like survive and thrive as well. And I do everything I can to try to promote that type of stuff. For example, right now, Arc System Works is getting this huge following after they've put out Dragon Ball Fighters, BlazBlue Cross Tag, which is from the BlazBlue series, which most people, are probably fairly aware of, especially in the fighting game community. Same thing with Guilty Gear. I have every single Guilty Gear that was made outside of maybe like some special type of imports or anything like that. But anything that came out in the U.S., I own it all. I've been like following this whole time, and then now Evo's coming out, and Evo has like 9 games, I believe, and 3 of them, that's either 9 or 10, but 3 of them are just from Arc System Works, and this is like unprecedented. Like it's usually Capcom that's like dominating, and Capcom is like nowhere to be seen with the exception of Street Fighter 5. And it's crazy because it's like you never think that they kind of drop that far, and Capcom is basically the big one, the big one. And then now you have Arc System Works, and it's kind of like the little guy, and a lot of people are looking at them like, oh my gosh, where these guys come from, and it's not like they didn't come from anywhere. They were there from the beginning. I mean, like Guilty Gear came out back in like I think 1997, the very first Guilty Gear, and I've owned it. I've owned it, and I've basically jumped on every single iteration ever since then. Um, so it's just one of those things where they made it big, they have a big following, and I like to see that happen to other game developers. A lot of people heard about Dark Souls. Not as people heard as much about the Surge, which is pretty much a sci-fi Elysium, like Matt Damon Elysium style of futuristic setting, but with Dark Souls type combat. Not as many people have heard of, for example, Vampire, which is pretty much like a Victorian era um, um, adventure where you play as somebody who gets bitten by a vampire, and then you have these more methodical, roundabout ways of approaching targets and talking to the NPCs and opening up missions and stuff like that. Is very, very like out of the box compared to the normal stuff that's out there. Another ones that I want to do is Agony. I heard Agony is just as much of an agony to play as it is to stomach, with all of the bugs and crashes and stuff that I've been hearing about. But the fact is that I mean, I guess they really want to make a game that's like hell, hell to play and also hell to experience. Um, but that's pretty much it. It's all about me trying to put something out that's like unique. Um, the era that I grew up in that got me going into video games was an era that is in and of itself, and it can't be replicated or duplicated, and it probably shouldn't be because there's a lot of big mistakes that occurred back then. One of them, my birth, and don't tell my parents this, but yeah, I know I was an accident. Thank you for coming on here. Thank you for actually taking the time to take a look at this video. I'm sorry that there's not as much stuff on here as I'd like there to be, but I promise that in the next couple of months, there's definitely going to be a lot more stuff on here. So take it easy, guys. Good night. And like I said, come back soon. Like If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. I like to say that it's extremely important. I'm not exactly sure what the thumbs up actually does. I'm not trying to make money on here or anything like that. If you want to subscribe, I really appreciate that too. That way, if I upload some new content, you guys get a direct hit when it comes to that. Please keep watching or listening to the podcast. Those guys are awesome. They're putting in good work. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. Feel free to leave comments, whether it's about comic books or anything else from that you might be wondering about. All right, you guys take it easy. Good night.